Hello, welcome to episode 165 in this series where I am programming an NES game live on Twitch from scratch. Sorry about the delays in streaming, but it's just been very busy, so I needed some extra time to focus on some things besides this, but we're back, and we will do a relatively short stream here today. Just want to clean up some of the things we were working on and then hopefully get back into moving along with level 1 here. And one of the things that we probably want to do at some point is I want to take this this tile set and take the original image and chop off this extra stuff because it is not necessary for what we're doing, although that little house might be. We'll see. I don't know. But last time we built a process that chunked up the images or the image into metatiles and then created a file that has all the metatiles broken out into individual 16 by 16s. It deduplicates them in terms of the metatiles themselves, so like any stretch of just blue or any of like the forest metatiles, they immediately get detected as being duplicate and then removed so that we only have the unique tiles or metatiles here. So one thing I wanted to do before we got started, just because it's kind of fun, is I had loaded up the ROM. I think I told everybody I had loaded up the ROM onto my EverDrive to test it out on a real NES. And so I have the NES connected here with a RetroTink through just composite. And so we can actually see it running here. There's a fair bit of delay coming in, so yeah, I wasn't expecting to do particularly well here. Hoping I can make it to the repeat scroll section. Oh, it's having this problem. Oh, the NES is, anyway. Where it is, I'm not sure what, like if the cartridge connector is loose or something. Man, the lag is so bad right now. I'm playing it on OBS's preview, so there's like a half-second delay. When I look at it, if I switch my monitor on the bottom to view the output from the RetroTink, it's not so bad. But yeah. Oh, here's repeat scroll. So we can see this is all working as expected. So it was cool, and you know, I had messed around with this on my CRT, just, you know, because that's where I had an NES hooked up, but I thought it'd be fun to show that, like, it's actually working properly. I'm still hitting this problem, though, that my NES is resetting. I really don't know why. I may have to boil the connectors because I know that will help when you get problems with your cartridge. So it's a little bit weird that this has been happening. Let's see here. Huh. Wonder why. I mean, if I needed to actually do something where the quality of the video was important, I would use my my Analog NT Mini. But yeah, you can see how it's getting corrupted. That's just because the cartridge is not being read properly by the NES. I don't know why that's happening, though. One of the things I do want to do at some point here is get a... There we go. Is get the EverDrive N8 Pro, because it has the ability to reload reload the game ROM through USB instead of having to update the memory card. So anyway, I thought that was cool. Hopefully you thought it was cool too. The fact that it was glitching out should hopefully be proof enough, but yeah, I just have it on this. I was popping it on this little 2 gig memory card that I have. So anyway, getting back to this. So last time what were we doing? We were in this loop, in this whole process of comparing the existing found 16 by 16 metatiles, and yeah, and so then we would compute how many we found, and then we would export it to this larger file. 2 things I want to probably try and do today. One is I want to iterate through the working list, and in addition to putting it onto this final image, I want to write it out as a metatile file using the metatile format that I have, that we were writing out the other metatiles in when we were exporting. And then we can, I'm not going to delete, but I'll comment out that code that was converting stuff to metatiles in the old, in the current export process, which will become the old export process, and have it use the metatiles that we export out just from here, so that we have one source of truth, so to speak, of the content. Hey, Lunatrek. Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah, I think it took me a little while to get back to you, too. So, yeah, don't worry. I know everybody's busy. Everybody's got a bunch of stuff going on with life and whatnot. All right, so let's see. Let's find our process for making the metatiles. I don't remember. I know I probably have. I'm sure, some process that converts all of this, but I don't remember what it is because it's been a while since I've looked at it. Hope everybody's having a good Friday evening. It's been a long week, but weekends here in the US, we have Thanksgiving next week, so it'll be a short week. I'm looking forward to it. All right, where is, oh wait, here's the discovered metatiles. So where is this? So this we're checking to see if it exists already. Here we're copying. Okay, so this is the process of composing it based on the tile indexes, or indices if you prefer. And then there is some place here where we are actually exporting that. Where is that part? Ah, Tiger Blitz. Okay, so this is, we're taking those tile indexes and blending it onto a 16 by 16 and then exporting it to a real metatile. Convert image to indexed. I knew that part. And then we do our fine matching palette. And then what? And then save metatile. So TMT is what the metatile it is, and this is a palette, and then we have the image, which is just the indexed data. Okay, so we're just copying the index data. Okay, that's fine. So we've got this code here now. So iter or iter, the iterator has our image. So we need to make available, convert image to indexed. So we'll just reference this here. And for those not familiar, we're just basically telling the compiler, hey, there's this function called convert image to index, and it exists. I promise it exists, but you won't find it until you link, because it's not the code isn't defined here. It's defined in the NES asset tool.cpp file. So basically, we are saying, hey, here's the file, it exists. Here's the function, it exists. It's external to this file, so just go with it, right? Like, just allow me to call this and not complain. And then when it links the compiled code, it'll look for convert to image index. Then if it can't find it, obviously it will complain. But obviously, it's just as obviously it is there. So let's just go through this and check to make sure that we are... Oh, what's the matter with this? So it is not happy. Why? Because it does not have the indexed array defined. Why is that? New index does allocate the size of that thing and then zero it out. Oh, is it not writing it out or loading it? But that image should be indexed. Maybe the... Yeah, maybe the... Oh, is that only happening? I wonder if that's only happening on load. Okay, so what happened is we are... Huh, that's interesting. I'm surprised we didn't run into this before. So I don't know when it was. I got the answers. Thanks. Difference with CA65 and yeah, there are some pretty substantial differences. CA65 has a decent amount of support for some things that NESASM doesn't support, and also NESASM has some weird bugs in it. Nothing. I shouldn't say. There's one in particular I know about, but I don't know. I just know that it's not nearly as robust or capable as CA65. That said, plenty of people have made games with it, so, you know, do what you're most comfortable with. So back when I was initially working on this, I don't believe it had indexed capabilities. I'm pretty sure I added that here. Do I not have git blame turned on here? Can you do that? That's something I've found pretty useful. Is let's see, Visual Studio 2017 git blame. So git blame is nice because even though the name is not so nice, it allows you to see who changed the file last and when. And obviously the answer is me. I changed it, but more so it's a question of when. When was that changed? Or maybe it doesn't because it what's the word I'm looking for? That's Visual Studio Code. If it was part of the initial commit, then obviously it wouldn't be there. Tools, options, source control, Microsoft Git provider. Why? Team Explorer tags. I thought for sure Visual Studio Code definitely has it. Why do I not see it? Settings. Global settings. Is it just not? Maybe it's not available in this version of Visual Studio. Bummer. I just want to see, because I don't remember what exactly I changed to make this work. My recollection was that indexed PNGs were not 100% supported the way I wanted it to be. I had to make some sort of change, but that's basically all I remember. So here's tiger.c. I want to look at the log. So that is transparency support. So that's type 3. This is the main implementation file. And then there was that fix that I added in. And what is this? Support for transparency. Yeah. So is it not, does it not populate that? What it almost seems like is it doesn't populate that indexed array unless you're loading the file. Like if you're just doing a blit like we are here. Yeah, it's only updating the pixels, but not the indexed. So it's just updating the RGB values, but not the index data. So, shoot. Should I be like, it's kind of gross. Like I could write the file to a temporary file and then reload it, and then it would be set. We could try that. I'm not crazy about that idea, but like I'm also not crazy about the idea of rewriting the functionality to support this when we're just doing the blitting. So tiger save image, and what is the way? There is a way. I know what it is in, or I've used it in C#, but in Windows API get temp file name. There's a way to ask Windows to give you a temporary file name. It's just like randomized, basically. Although I guess it doesn't really matter because we could call it whatever we wanted as long as we're just rewriting it. All right, let's just do that. So we're just going to keep overwriting this file. And then all right, so then what I want to do is I want to free this. And then we're going to create a new pointer called image and tiger load image equals tiger load image. So that's that. I don't know why I made this a string instead of just doing this. It's not like we need to manipulate it or anything like that. All right, so hopefully by loading it like this, we should then get the indexed content, which would then allow, although, what is this doing? This is converting it to the NES indexed, right? Okay. So it should be fine now. Let's see. If nothing else, it should have the buffer allocated for it, which is part of the issue, I think. If that's the only issue, like if we find that the image just has an empty buffer in it, then we won't go through the process of saving it. Oh, it didn't even load it. Really? Tiger load image, tiger read file, load mem, load PNG. Does some checking. Indexed is null. If C type is 3, then it allocates. So it's not even... Okay, so it's not... That memory isn't there because it's not being created as an indexed PNG. Is there a way to make that happen? Save PNG data. It does not appear to be possible. Well, that's a bummer. Let me see something here. If we go back to this, does it care if the indexed array actually has a value? No, because it's re-indexing it based on the NES palette and then updating that. So really all we need is the index. Okay, so this is unnecessary. All we really need to do is say let's see, indexed equals malloc, size of 256, because we know it's always 16 by 16. Oh, not size of 256, just 256. We could do 256 times size of unsigned character if we wanted to. Alright, so that's going to allocate it and clear it, and then we should, when we come out of convert image to indexed, have real values there. So, where are we? Yeah. So it's just it's the iterator, it's our pointer. Here's our indexed array. Everything is going to be 0 there. So if we do convert to converted from RGB, false. Transparent index doesn't have a value. So this is saying that it's the transparent pixel, but I don't know. That's not technically right, potentially. And we're then not getting anything. Because that's all. Damn it. What is going on here? I thought it was transparent index is -1. FC type is 3. Get the transparency color. This is doing all the PNG decompression. So is there something I was doing to convert it from RGB? Convert image to indexed. Oh. Well. So then I don't need to do this allocation. -1. So that should take care of it then. Let's see. So we're going to come into here, and so transparent index is -1, index is null. So we're going to assign an indexed, and then if it's okay, cool. So then we are yeah, okay, so then we're using the RGBA value to do the actual conversion here. So that should be better now if we step out of here and we look at this and we look at the indexed values. Okay, we have actual colors here now. How many bytes is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. So that looks correct now. And so then we're going to do our usual blit, and okay, cool. So sorry, that took longer than expected because I forgot about how that all worked. So convert to image, converting the image to indexed is now working, and now we want to create a metatile, and then it doesn't know what the metatile type is. Guess I should have this in some sort of shared header file. I don't know how many of these things we'll actually need in here, but shouldn't be too many, because I don't know. I don't think there are going to be too many things that are shared here to make this work. Oops. Oh, we have some constants. Where is that? And we also need metatile image size, which means we need these, right? All right, so now we also helpers. That's this. Where are those types defined? That's an asset tool hook. Right? Yeah. So we can include that here. Actually, should really do that here. Asset tool hooks. That is pragma once. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, cool. So that compiled now. All right, now that we have all of this, we have our metatile, and we want to copy over the indexed image, which I believe that's not fixed. This is, though. So copy that over. We don't have the palette yet. We need to work on that. So that's really all. That's really all we have. Save metatile, right? Or what is it? Same thing as before. We're gonna extern that. And I just want to do this one time, so, I just want to try this right now here. So let's see what this looks like. Make sure everything is working okay. So what we can do I believe it's going to actually, where is it going to export to? Now that I think about it, I'm not sure. Is it under assets? Metatile test.metatile. Where did it write this to? Did I miss it? Oh, there it is. Okay, I was right. It was in... See, I doubted myself, and then... Sure enough, here it is. Okay. So... This is the first metatile, which is... So, I mean, obviously the palette is part of the issue. But it doesn't look like me changing it is doing a whole lot to the values that are in there. So it's just got the one, it looks like it's, oh yeah, you know what? That makes sense actually. It's this here, but I don't know why that color, or maybe it is set to something different, but no, because it would have had the gray. I don't know, that's weird. Okay, it could also be, you know what it also could be? It could be also the conversion of the colors over here. So let me close this for a second. Let's go back. Let's see what the next one looks like. So I'm just using the asset tool itself to reload whatever the file is that it just wrote. So that's obviously that street. Where is it? That street tile there. And again, the colors are wrong because we're not dealing with the palettes at all right now. We're just literally taking just the raw data as is and converting it to, yeah, that looks like it's working. Okay, and just converting it into an indexed image using the NES color palette, and then I'm not exporting, I'm not setting the palette up properly, so it's not saving that properly in the metatile file. But let's see, do we have we have a way of looking up destination metatile, matched palette. So we have a way of searching to see if the palette that was provided, I remember this part, the palette provided actually, or the palette that in the image matches one of the palettes we've loaded from the project. Now, the thing is with that, here we don't have those palette files because this is just a conversion process. So realistically, what we should just probably do, I believe I have a way of grabbing the palette out of an image somewhere. Character, sprite character, load palette. No, that's different. Load sprite metadata. Load sprite. Write sprite. Save sprite. Create sprite. Dispatching sprite. Draw sprite. Draw metatile. Metatile to image. Free. Get tile set source. Find matching palette. Do I not have something like that? I thought I had. Oh wait, load image palette. Let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. So it takes the image, the indexed image, the destination palette, the number of items, the source X and Y, and what it does it for an 8x8 area only. Let me change that to include width and height, because that will make this more useful. Any place that was calling that before can just pass in the width and height fixed as 8. And then for us, in the new stuff we're working on, we will use 16 by 16. Okay, so final references. I don't even know that we're using this anywhere. So we're not. Okay, good. That makes it a little bit easier because we don't have to worry that we broke something by changing this. So now what we want to do is we've converted it to indexed, and we're going to do this. We're going to say load image palette, and we're going to take the image, and we're going to have a palette destination, which I believe, how many colors does it support? 4. So it is, I want to say, an unsigned character that it is looking for, or uint8, I should say. It's the same thing, but just for consistency, I went through the trouble of defining the type. I should use it. So palette count will be what the actual count is when the call is done. 0, 0, 16 by 16, false. Okay. It's not a sprite, so what you want this uint8. Oh, sorry. int8. Okay. So let's see what happens here. Load image palette. No overload that takes 6. Oh, I thought I did a search for. Okay, it's not a problem. So, oops, not 9. 8 by 8. So I was using it in one spot. It looks like. Oh, is that a recursive call? What is this? This is a different. This is a different call to load image palette. Oh, okay, I forgot. So this is actually doing it in 8 by 8 chunks. Should I just use that? I don't think it matters. All right. Is anybody using this one? All I see is some definitions. That's not used. This is used here, but that's that other version. This is used here. So I use the wrapped version, or the version that wraps the other one that we exported here. So that's fine. This is all we really need with this, because we're not going over a larger image. We're just using the 16 by 16. I think that should be fine. What I want to see is what the palette actually looks like. 0E10202D. So if we go to this for a second, 10 is gray, 20 is white, and 2D is also gray. So it's all shades of gray in the image. So if we go through here, oh, you know what we're not doing though? We are not setting that in the metatile now, which we have to fix. That needs to be that needs to be copied over from this, and oops, not that, this, and we're only going to copy the 4 at the moment because that's all load image palette itself supports, I believe. Right? We said color count. Yeah, so it's only going to grab 4 colors before it then essentially. Wait, is that right? Let's see. Loops over the whole 16 by 16 and updates the color map based on, so whatever bit for the color is set, we will set it in the 64-bit value, and then we loop through all 64 bits and palette destination, color count. So we could technically update this to support up to 16 colors for what we need to support in the metatile itself. But for now, I think we're okay. We can always come back to that. The main thing is I want to see, now that we've saved that, what does that look like when we go to load this. All right, so That looks a heck of a lot closer to what I was expecting to see. So there is the PNG, and this is the converted NES version. It's a reasonable facsimile. It is not 100% right. And it's also not using the fact that we already have. That's weird. It's using the 3 gray colors, but it is not using black. Why? I think this was a problem we had a while ago, where when you have 0 as the color, it was not. Oh, you know what though? Hold on a second. No, no, I'm misremembering, but the problem is that we are getting the palette, but the indexed version of the image is not being adjusted to use that palette. So when we go convert to image indexed, or convert image to indexed, that's literally all it's doing. It's not taking the palette into account whatsoever, which is a problem. There is a way, if I remember, to change find matching palette, index image tile. So what this is going to re-index based on the palette. Right, so this finds the color in the palette and then re-indexes it based on that. So I need this too. So we've converted the image to indexed, and then we've loaded our palette, and then we want to index image tile, right? Yep. And so we've got the image, our 0 or 0, and then our palette. I think that just does. What does that do? That just says go through the palette and look for the color within the image and convert that over. Okay, so what's the problem with this? That's fine. This should just be cast over. There's no problem with that. Now the only downside to this is, if you saw before, it's actually it's only doing it in an 8x8 space, so we just have to go re-index the whole thing. Sorry if it's a bad question, but I am a few years behind. Is the purpose of the CPP here to generate maps? Yeah. Oh, no worries. Yeah, the streams, I know there's a ton of content. Yeah. So this export tool is literally just to convert the data over from just PNG files and tiled maps and stuff like that to something that the NES code can use. Yep. Could have done it anyway, any other way if you're comfortable with Python or even JavaScript, whatever. Like if there's something that's more comfortable for you, certainly use that. This is just what I decided to do it in, for better or for worse. Sometimes for worse. All right, so that exported. That looks a heck of a lot closer. Let's see what that looks like now. Yeah, that's actually correct. So good. So it re-indexed it. We got our palette colors are all the same, but we actually have a metatile that has the right color. So if we loop through again, we load this one, that looks good too. We won't do all of them. I just want to kind of double check, make sure that nothing is being messed up by this process. It looks like we're actually in good shape here so far. This is a black tile. Is that right? Oh yeah, cool, good. I got nervous because it was just black, but that is actually, in fact, what it's supposed to be. The other thing that the tool does in C++ is it has, you can see we're looking at the contents that's being converted from the PNG side to this these metatiles, which I'm using for the map. So it gives us a way to like kind of view the results. Think, you know, in whatever post-mortem I end up doing on this, we'll have some thoughts on the way that I approach this that effectively boil down to I approach the tool too early in the development process. But the good news is that it means I have a lot of stuff that is actually already baked into my code. So I can do, okay, all of this is looking, a lot of stuff that's baked into my code that lets me do what I want to do. So it's good in that sense. It gives me a lot of stuff to work with, even if I spent a lot of time kind of building out stuff that ultimately had to change pretty substantially. Metatile index. So this is going to be our metatile index. And we're going to do metatile starting with 1 just because it is, the 0 index is no metatile. So I don't even remember what I'm using here. I'm using ssprintf. Yeah. So ssprintf buffer. So I just basically want to say metatile %d.metatile. No new line. I'm not printing that out. And then, oops. Come on, you can do it. Metatile index here. We're going to post increment that. So every time we loop through, we're going to update the file name to the new metatile file name and increment the counter. And that'll give us all of our metatiles from the PNG that, or whatever, however many PNGs we end up bringing in. But if we just have the one, we'll end up with just the one that has that we use that has all the metatiles and generate the individual metatiles from that. So okay, we broke something. What's the problem? Probably, let's see, convert image to index, load image palette. Is this using, it shouldn't be using more than 4. Palette destinations 4. So palette destination color count. This is doing a mod for if we increment it too far. Although palette size is 16, so this is actually wrong. This should be palette size. So then I should change my thing. That should actually still be 4. And then this should be all right. So we should be able to just run this through now, and access violation, reading, find next file. Why? Get current home folder content. What are you doing? Why would you do that? Oh, I bet I know why. Because probably it finished and then we did not. Well, yeah, and then we don't stop. So we do want to exit when we're done here. That should be... Oh, but it's still doing it. Load current home. Why? That is strange. Okay. Let's... Okay, that... I guess there was something weird with the old metatiles. Okay, so it exported 143 of them, which is a lot, but that is what we knew we had. And then we can look at them individually. Maybe. How come those aren't working? That is strange. What did I break? It was working with the command before. I was just running NES Asset Tool, and that was it. That's bonkers. Let's save this off here for a second. Oh, you know what it could be? Wonder if that change for the 16 threw everything off. And yeah, but why would that be causing this problem? We're literally in the beginning of the code doing the platform initialize, and it's breaking. That seems... Is that right? It is. There are 159 files. What is it looking for? In this, get current home folder content. So it's looping through and looking for this, and find next file A. Oh, are there too many? Maybe there are too many files in the home directory now. Yep, that's what it is. Let's make something called max allocations. say 300. I don't know that it really matters as long as it's bigger than what it was. Let's put a to do here. Oh yeah, I have it already. See? I already knew it was bad. And yet I did it anyway. That makes more sense than why that was crashing. Come on. The debugger is hitching up here. Let's just close this. We can run it externally again, so I don't have to worry about that taking forever. There we go. All right, so yep, that's still looking good. Great. So now the main thing is that if we go and say, okay, here's our tile. Went too far. Here's our tile. I'm going to update the top left corner to use that tile. If I go and look at the JSON file for this map, once it saves, hey, how's it going? That's 112, so I will check that, and sure enough, if we look at it here, we can see the metatile matches. So this matches this, so it's a one-to-one correspondence. So now we can do what I was aiming to do, which was say, okay, we've got a repeat scroll section, and we want to be able to say definitively, like, use tile whatever this is. Does it say what tile it is somewhere when you're moused over it? Whatever. I can, we can find it by looking at the tiles that are here and placing it, and does it tell you when you mouse over it over there? Oh, it does. Okay, so yeah, so you can see it says it's 111 down in the bottom here. If you look, it's kind of tiny, but it does tell you what it is, and so then I can use that in the repeat scroll section, like to see what tile that is. So that'll make it pretty easy to work with. One other kind of interesting thing to mention is that because we now know how many metatiles we're exporting total, we know how many tiles that equals, and that's the number of unique tiles, right? So, or let me rephrase that. It becomes a number of unique tiles, but that doesn't mean that they are actually unique, because the metatiles are not reducing the any redundancy between themselves. So that's 572 tiles, which I think is too many to fit into the NES all at once, because yeah, you can only have 512 total, 256 in one name table and 256 in another name table. So right now we can see that based on what we have here, and there's some junk in here that we can clean up. We can do that before we wrap tonight here. At least right now we have too many tiles. So let's do that. Let's clean this up and see if there is any noticeable benefit. It's still probably going to be too many tiles overall. I don't expect that we would ever have all of the tiles loaded at once though, so I'm not super concerned about that, only because we know that that's not a realistic scenario. But in case we needed to, or we wanted to know, we know that now we can definitively say that there are too many tiles. Now we can also go back and do what I said with the deduplication and remove all of like these redundant blue tiles, right? Like, and the little wavelets and stuff like that. Those could all be condensed down. Where is crop? Anybody know? Crop. There it is. Save. Okay. So now if we run this again, let's do this. Where did the command line go? Did I close it? Why did I close it? I have this weird like habit of closing command lines too quickly, just because I am trying to keep clutter down on the screen. Okay, so let's rerun export. 107. So it did cut down the number of metatiles a decent amount, but still a lot. But one thing we'll notice is when we go back to tiled, this, let's see, oops. So this broke, by changing that broke some of this stuff, which is, I mean, I kind of expected that. We have some extra junk at the bottom that we're not using. Just came down to the way that the export is exporting the tiles. But so that gives us a view into like what's going on with this export. We can grab this, and that's not the right set of tiles. It's this, and then was that not right to begin with? I don't know. I don't remember what was actually there before. That looks okay. So yeah, I mean, obviously that's not something we want to do, shifting things around like this, because that breaks the tile layouts. But again, I can, now mouse over and see what the indexes are and know. Are those the two? No. So what we're looking at here is just a map that I'm working on in tiled. It doesn't really have any direct connection to the NES. It was just, this is just an easy tool to use to build out maps like this, because it can kind of use anything and export in a format that's easy to process. So that was why I decided to go with this. And then what I have been doing is working to change the mapping process, where it was creating these metatiles by examining the individual 8x8 tiles into something where we just compose the full metatiles, the full 16x16 ahead of time, and then that gives us the ability to work with those in tiled, which will be a little bit simpler, and then we just have to export that properly. So where's the bottom of the fountain? There it is. It's not too important that this is anything particularly good right now. The main thing was to test out that this would work. And then again, if we mouse over and we look at the tile, it's 41. So we want to check metatile 42 because we're just off by 1. But there it is. So it's got the right colors. It's got this gray background and it's got the blue water. So that looks good. One more just for the sake of completeness. Are those all? Oh, I guess they are slightly different. Even though, like, you could almost, you could probably. Oh, I see, because they're the edge. We could eliminate one by just using that and having it like look like it's coming off the edge. So 14, so that's 15. Yep, that looks good too. So, all right, so now we have this process working. I'm going to end now because we've been doing this for about an hour and 15. I know I haven't streamed in a while and we didn't really get a ton done, but I want to come back to this because I got to think about this process a little bit more. And if I start into this, it's going to go for a while. Like, it's probably going to be another 2 hours. Basically, what we need to do now that we've got this working and we've got this exporting all these metatile files is we got to go back to the map export process, and where we have, where is that? Come on. So where we have this process that we're discovering these metatiles, that's no longer needed. What we need instead is to use these metatiles we've generated that now map directly to these values. And we do need to do the same process that we're doing here, where we are looking for if the palettes match with the levels predefined set of palettes. And if they match, then swap over and potentially re-index the matched palettes so that they can be used. And then obviously that goes back to, once that's all done, then we can finish up the process of where we're rebuilding the map. Actually, that part actually might get simpler, because right now we're finding the metatiles in this process by looking at the 2x2 metatiles and building a new map with the metatiles that we discover, rather than just using what exists, what's already in here. So that's going to be simpler because we don't have to do that rediscovery process and remapping process. So we'll have the values that we need automatically, which means that, yeah, so that means that we don't have to do that process. We don't have to copy the map buffer over after we've done that remapping process. We can just export it. The size hasn't changed because it's still 16 by 16 metatiles, so that's all the same as it was. So really, it's this process of the discovery that we have to get rid of and then swap over to, maybe it won't take 2 hours, I don't know, but it's going to take longer than I have energy for tonight. So yeah, so we're going to wrap it, and we'll pick that up on Monday. I'll probably stream on Friday again next week since it's Thanksgiving here, just because it's going to be a busy day. We are going to have some just a few people over, like literally probably just 3, and have some dinner and stuff. So but it's going to be here, so I'm going to be available to clean up and whatnot, so it's going to be busy. yeah, so let's wrap, and then it'll be cool. I've got this all set up now so that once things are, I just posted. Yeah, you posted my channel in another Discord. Well, maybe you want to coordinate that with me so that people aren't coming in wondering what we're doing. Yeah. Thanks, Lunatrek. So I'll be streaming Monday. We'll wrap up this process of fixing that part of the export and then reinvestigate what's going on, and what else needs to be done, because the enemy export process is working. So that was loading properly from the ROM, but the map export had been turned off because of the fact that the repeat scroll didn't have a map, and we didn't handle that particularly gracefully from what we have in the JSON file for the map definition here. So we gotta figure that out. And then also, as I mentioned before, in tiled, if you go to the map properties, where are they? We'll be able to now include the all of this work of remapping things and reworking things came from the realization that we had no way of definitively saying these 2 bytes of what the 2 metatiles are for the repeat scroll section. So this gives us the ability to do that and have that be defined outside of just hard coding it, and have it be flexible so we could change it in the map content as we need to, and have that just get re-exported. So and then that's the other part of all of this, is that now that's done, the map export, like I said, isn't working, but we have our formula or our pattern for exporting here now, where we say, okay, we know we want to do a standard map export, and then we need the objects high and low, and then the binary, or it's repeat scroll, whatever the objects are, camera position, and then the repeat scroll tile. So once we're done with that, that will give us the ability to go back to working on the level, which is what triggered like all of this work. So I will say, like I said before, I think I probably wish I had spent less time on the tools up front, trying to anticipate what we would need, because as much as I get out of them at the moment, like with all the different utility methods and stuff that I have for converting and searching and rehashing palettes and whatnot, there was a lot of time spent building functionality that ended up having to change at the end. So I think that's a big takeaway that I've kind of had here, which is figure out what you're doing, and then if there's a tool you need. I mean, it sounds obvious in retrospect, but like there's this whole desire to try and preemptively solve the problem, and some of that goes to also like when you're designing a system, like when you're building a product and you're saying, okay, we have to do X, Y, and Z in this product, and then you try and, most places it's like, okay, so let's put together a spec of how that's going to work and design an architecture and how all that works, and more often than not, it's it doesn't match the real thing, or if you do it that way, then the problem becomes that you run into roadblocks, kind of like what happened here, where you're tackling the real world problem and seeing that what you anticipated was not correct, and so now you got to go back and rework things. And I have the benefit of that the time frame that I have is not under any sort of tight deadline that you might have at a job, so I can go back and rehash this stuff to make it work. Whereas at a job where they're paying you and they have a deadline, customers are waiting, it's like You just kind of got to make it work the best you can with what you've done, because you're not going to get the approval to go back and rewrite things or rework things if they don't work well. And so you got to really take that into consideration. Like how much work are you creating for yourself by trying to preemptively design something that's complex? If you were wrong, and you now either A, have to go back and fix it, or B, have to kind of hack around it to kind of make the best of a bad situation. And so that goes back to that video from Casey Muratori that I talked about in the last stream about where bad code comes from, which I think is still a good video to go watch. If you haven't, you should. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Clearvis. I am on Discord as Zelius at Video Game Sage, but Clearvis everywhere else on Discord. You can email me at zelius@gmail.com. I do have a Patreon and a Buy Me a Coffee in case you feel so inclined, but definitely don't feel obligated to. That's just a thing that I've done for the kind individuals who are who feel that they got enough to support what I'm doing here. The game is also available for pre-order. That gets you access to the source code ahead of time without the generated content. So it's just like the core engine code for you to look through. Obviously, you can ask me questions even without any of those things. I am available post, in the comments on the video, the recording. Come to a stream, ask questions. I don't mind. I actually like that. It's nice to have people pop in and say hi and ask questions. Ask for additional information around like the 0-page episodes, all that stuff. So anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good evening, and I will see you Monday. Have a great weekend.